want to thank all of you in the audience today for rallying around this event and being here today. This is an event that I personally have been thinking about for many years. And when Mike and I started thinking about putting the pieces of it together 18 months ago, we really didn't know how many of you would show up. We didn't know if we needed a venue such as this, or quite honestly, just get a table for 8 at a local restaurant down the street. But we're honored and humbled that so many of you are here today. And in fact, we have some investors that have flown across the world to be here, some investors from India, Switzerland, Germany, the UK. And so we're honored and humbled that you would be here and that you've made the effort to be here. But we think it's going to be well worth your while over the next couple of days. I've always believed that a successful investor-focused event really accomplishes 3 main objectives. Number 1, that the attendees learn something new or additive to their skill set. Number 2, that you meet great people. And number 3, that you find great investment opportunities. Over the next couple of days, you're going to hear from some world-class speakers. And so I have no doubt that you're going to learn something new today and tomorrow. Sitting alongside you today are likely investors that you've never met before. I would encourage all of you that during the breaks, during the social gatherings, the lunch and dinner, to get out of your comfort zone a little bit and meet some investors that you've never met before. I have no doubt that you'll be able to forge some relationships that will be beneficial to both of you. And last but not least, we have 17 companies presenting, 1 today over lunch and 16 all day tomorrow. So I believe that you're going to find some great investment opportunities here as well. So these 3 things are really what we intend to accomplish over the next couple of days. But since this is our very first MicroCap Leadership Summit, I thought I would spend a little bit of time going over the why, really the long-term mission and purpose of this event. Really why have I been thinking about this event for years? And quite honestly, why is this called the MicroCap Leadership Summit? Why isn't it called the Investor Summit or some other name? So what I'd like to do is just start out with our why, or our mission statement. And it's really to bring credibility and respect to the microcap space. Now, this statement might seem amorphous or vague or utopian to some of you that are sitting here in the audience. It might not mean much to you, but I believe by the end of this short presentation, you'll understand why this statement here is important to everyone sitting in this room today. I would first like to start off by giving you some statistics about the microcap space. There's approximately 11,000 microcap companies in North America today that support over 2.8 million jobs. That's a whole lot of jobs. In fact, that's more jobs than Pfizer, Microsoft, Google, McDonald's, GM, Boeing, and a whole bunch of other Fortune 100 companies that are represented on this slide here combined. So the microcap space is very significant. Some of the best investors ever, if not the best investors ever, got their start as microcap investors. It's how they built their initial capital and how they built their initial wealth. Some of the best companies ever got their start as microcap companies. Even Berkshire Hathaway, when Warren Buffett took it over at $7 a share, even on an inflation-adjusted basis today, would be considered a microcap company. And the same could be said for Walmart, AutoZone, and a whole bunch of other companies that you and I would agree are great companies. Over the last 10 years, almost 80% of the companies that have gone up 10x or more have originated out of the microcap space. Well-known brands such as Buffalo Wild Wings, Papa John's, IMAX, even a Patrick Industries, which I highlighted on our blog a few months ago. Patrick Industries is the number 1 performing stock in North America since 2009, up over 17,000%. So these companies listed here, as well as 250 others, have graduated out of the microcap space into the small cap and mid cap arena. And so just to bring all of this together once again, the microcap space is a significant investment class. It supports a lot of jobs. It's very significant to our economy. The best investors ever got their start investing in microcap companies. Some of the best companies ever started as microcap companies. And almost 80% of the best performing stocks in the last 10 years have originated out of the microcap space. So you would think, given those qualitative criteria or attributes, that there would just be a love affair with the microcap space. There would just be capital pouring into it. And yet I can barely say that without laughing, because we know this isn't the case. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I did a Google search for microcap investing and penny stocks, and I found these 5 headlines. These were the first 5 headlines that popped up in the Google News search. 5 tips to avoid microcap fraud. Man pleads guilty in $35 million penny stock fraud. And you can read the rest of these headlines. These are obviously negative headlines. And so I don't think it's too far-fetched to believe that anybody that's new to microcap investing, if they were to simply search for microcap investing or penny stocks, that they would read headlines like this and probably want nothing to do with it. At the very least, it would leave a bad taste in their mouth. And I think when you combine this with increased regulation here in the United States that's spreading abroad, that's making it harder for companies, for small companies, to go public, stay public, and raise capital. It's getting harder even for microcap investors to even deposit a microcap stock certificate anymore at a brokerage account. I think we've seen the effect in the liquidity level over the last few years. Here's a chart by Sentiment Trader, which they put out several months ago, that we posted on MicroCap Club. And what you'll notice is in the lower right, you'll see that the penny stock dollar volume, is so low it doesn't even show up on the chart anymore. So I think this is just really because of the combination of just the negativity that's out there, that's spewed by the general financial media and its pundits, as well as the increased regulation we're seeing this decrease in liquidity across the board. Now, there may be those of you sitting in the audience today that really see this as just a U.S. microcap issue. You might be thinking to yourself, well, that's why I only invest in Canadian microcaps or European microcaps or Asian or Australian microcaps. But fortunately or unfortunately, I can probably make the case that the U.S. tends to lead in a lot of things. And I believe that I don't think it's wouldn't take too much of your imagination to believe that this type of negativity and regulation will spread north into Canada or around the globe to wherever you may reside. So I believe that this is a worldwide issue and a worldwide microcap concern. And I think it's something that we need to rally around today. I think maybe the biggest irony is that when you look at other investment classes that also invest in small emerging companies, albeit private ones, such as private equity and venture capital, you almost have the opposite dynamic taking place today. Since 2009, over $800 billion has flown into the PE and VC world. $800 billion. Since 2013, the amount of private equity and venture capital funds has increased by over 40%. And I believe everybody here has witnessed almost on a weekly, if not daily basis, the love affair the financial media has with private equity and venture capital investing. They love to put the venture capital leadership up on pedestals, almost like gods. Mark Andreessen, Peter Thiel, Ron Conway, and many others. And these are very successful investors. They're billionaires. But when you think about venture capital investing itself, the fact that probably a successful venture capitalist gets 1 out of 20 investments right, and those remaining 19 investments aren't just losses, but likely complete failures. It's just kind of ironic how the financial media, its pundits, and the regulators can pick and choose which investment class is in vogue today. And once again, when you compare this to microcap investing, the microcap space has seen over $2 billion of outflows from U.S. actively managed microcap funds since 2009. We've seen increased regulation, which I've talked about earlier, as well as this financial media hatred, which we see almost on a daily basis, which I showcased in that simple Google News search. And so it begs the question, why is this the case? And this is a question I've been asking myself for the last 3 years. Why is this misperception about microcaps? Why does it exist? And I really truly believe it's because there's a lack of microcap leadership that exists right now in the microcap space. Unlike the venture capital world, we don't have a Mark Andreessen or Peter Thiel. We don't have billionaire investors that are out in the front lines preaching the investing merits of our fine investment class known as microcap investing. We don't have billionaire investors that are sticking up for it to the financial media. Yes, Warren Buffett, Peter Lynch, and many other billionaires got their start investing in microcap companies, but they've long since moved on to bigger companies or other things. And so I think whether it's in your organization, your company, and even the microcap space. Where there is a lack of leadership, what normally fills that void is negativity, and I think that's what we're dealing with today in the microcap space. And so, really, over the last few years, I've felt that it's time for us to really rally around this cause and as investors. And I think it's time that we bring credibility and respect back to the microcap space. And so you might be wondering, well, how do we address these concerns? How do we bring credibility and respect back to the microcap space? Some people, believe that it's purely a structural issue, that increasing bid-ask spreads or doing some other structural things would make a significant impact on liquidity and bringing interest back to the microcap space. I believe that it's a greater issue, though. I believe we have a quality issue in the microcap space, and I think how you address quality issues is with quality solutions. And so, I believe the way we bring credibility and respect back to the microcap space is really in these 5 ways and focusing on these 5 things. Number 1, we need to continue to educate the masses on the merits of microcap investing. It's important that when new investors want to find out information on the microcap space, that they don't just see negative headlines, that there's some positive piece of information out there that more accurately reflects the investment class of microcap investing. And so it's why that since 2011 on our MicroCap Club blog that we put out mostly educational articles to really kind of preach the investing merits of microcap investing. And we do so to really do number 2 here, which is bring quality investors into the microcap space. The great thing is that over the last year in particular, I've talked to dozens of new quality investors that are just new to microcap investing. And I think that we've really reached the inflection point, or at least the low point in the negativity in the microcap space, because I know that there's interest boiling by those quality investors that are out there just seeking to gain knowledge and information on the microcap space. And number 3, we want to surround ourselves with credible investing leaders that share our principles. I was talking to Mike the other day, and I was telling him how it's really, really important that as an organization, as MicroCap Club, as an event, as the MicroCap Leadership Summit, and even personally, and even everybody in this room, that you always hold yourself up to a higher standard, that you always operate with high integrity, that you have a strong moral backbone, that you project with your words as well as your actions quality. And the reason why that's important is that if we are going to attract quality investors into the microcap space, we need to really project ourselves with quality. It's important that we can attract great investors like a Sanjay Bakshi, who's presenting here later today, or Paul Lounsis, or the other speakers to an event like this, or even into the microcap space. And the only reason that they would say yes is because they believe that we're a quality group and we're a quality organization. So it's important that we want to continue to attract these credible investing leaders. Number 4, we want to learn from and collaborate with each other to become better microcap investors. This is what we've been doing on our forum since 2011, and it's really important that we continue doing this and doing it well. And maybe number 5 is the most important here. We want to make a positive impact on the companies that we invest in. The financial media loves to broad brush the microcap space as some uninvestable wasteland of slimy companies and insignificant, sleazy management teams. And yes, there are those companies and management teams that exist in the microcap space today, but they also exist in small cap, mid cap, large cap, and quite honestly, every other investment category that exists on planet Earth. But I would be the first to admit that I believe there's many more slimy and sleazy microcap investors than there are slimy and sleazy microcap companies. Those types of investors that influence companies in a negative or a bad way. And so I think it's really, really important as we attract quality investors into the space, as we become better microcap investors ourselves, as our capital grows and then we have more influence, rightly or wrongly, over the companies that we invest in, that influence is a positive one instead of a negative one. So in conclusion, over the next couple of days, I have no doubt that you're going to learn something new. You're going to meet some other great investors, and that you're going to find some great investment opportunities. But over the long term, I believe by focusing on these 5 qualitative things that we can make a significant impact to bring credibility and respect back to the microcap space. And I believe that's something worth fighting for. Thank you.